We'll call this meeting to order. We have the prayer and the pledge by Councilmember David Broussard.
Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Dan Dahl.
Here.
Councilmember Natalie Lopez. Councilmember Marlon Lewis.
Here.
Councilmember David Broussard.
Here.
Councilmember Deidre Ledbetter.
Here.
Councilmember Sherry Guidry.
Present.
Councilmember Dustin Swear.
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Our first agenda item is public comment. I'll ask you to please put your phones on vibrate, and remember that public comment, there's no back and forth. You have 3 minutes. It is for us to hear your concerns on an agenda item only. Our first comment card is Mr. Michael Bell, and he's speaking on agenda item number 6. Mr. Bell? Oh, well, I just we like you, Mr. Bell.
Whenever I'm up here, because I love the city I live in.
Thank you.
Okay. I want to talk about the policing, and I'm sure everybody here in New Iberia and the surrounding area do not mind paying a little bit more taxes if you know your money is being spent wisely. It's just common sense, because I think safety should be our number one priority for our city as a whole, not just one community, but the city as a whole. And our young people and our elderly should be our number one priority. And I am here to say, as a working man, I don't mind paying a penny or a couple of dollars or a penny more for taxes, but I would like to know it is being used wisely. I've seen some improvement in our city. I've seen some new things that's coming in, and it's so good to see, because I would like to see my grandchildren stay here. I don't want them to go to Lafayette. I don't want them to go to Baton Rouge. I'm from New Iberia, and I would like to see it here. I would like to see our money stay in our city. And the only way we can do that is by organizing and getting our act together, just like we as Americans, we should wake up and see we all in this gumbo together, and we have to make it work. And we definitely need to organize a police department that is community orientated. When I talk about community, I'm not talking about just one area. Community means the whole city as a whole. And when we get that going, we have that community policing. Whenever the people get to know the police officers and vice versa, it's a win-win situation. You can't lose, because people feel comfortable with the police department, and in return, the police department feel comfortable with people, you know? And that's the only way it's going to work. Like I told you before, I had the opportunity to work with it in San Francisco. We took a bad area, and now that area is a very prosperous area. What we did do, along with the police department, we went out to different companies, Silicon Valley, and we let them know the needs of the city and the needs of the people in the community. Believe me, within 2 years, it's not going to happen overnight. We took old, ragged down, restored those buildings, and made positive things in that community. Now it's one of the most outstanding communities in San Francisco. And it was a multicultural community. And that's another thing when people have a misconception of the West End. When you talk about the West End, they see one color, but no, it's a multicultural neighborhood. It's a multi-thing. So, you know, so let's get our act together as one. And it's a plea to America. We see the problem that we're having. We got to wake up. Take a deep breath. And just pause for a moment and just see where we came from and where we're going. And I hope we can get together and organize with the police department and make it work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. We have another comment card, Mr. Stephen Maynard, also on agenda item number 6. Mr. Maynard.
Thank you, Mayor. What I have to say tonight
It's very shocking. My name is Stephen Menard. I'm a former sheriff, deputy of Iberia Parish Sheriff Office during the Romo administration and St. Martin Parish Sheriff's Office administration. I specialize in gangs, neighborhoods, cartels, smuggling, so forth. What I'm here for tonight, to let you know that last year I was part of y'all prayer walk. I came, helped my friends. I walked the streets. I talked to former gang members, drug dealers. Y'all have a serious problem here. I am a big supporter of y'all passing a tax. A lot of people want to blame District 2 area. It's not District 2. It's every district around here has a problem. Last year, before I walked, 2 murders occurred. Memphis and Aaron. Those murders are unsolved today. Friction is up again. Okay? Trouble's going to start pretty soon. You have major drug dealers here. You have gangs. You have prostitution, human trafficking. It's time to bring back a police department that will work with the community. We'll have community policing. The response time in those areas is too long. The time the shootings occur, the time the rapes occur, the time somebody's going to call, and you got house invasions going on. If you don't know what house invasion is, I explained to you. When you got 3 or 4 guys going to bust in your house with a shotgun or a pistol, make you lay on the floor and steal everything you got. It goes on. You got more shootings here than anywhere else. Mr. Lewis knew me from the past. And like I say, I represent the poor. The elder people who can sit on that porch at one time, but they can't do it no more because of the thugs. They can't go to the store like they want because they're going to get robbed. Hopkins Street was just a certain area at one time. Now it's from Railroad all the way to Armadillo, you got trouble. And it spreads out. A lot of people say, well, they quarantine this area. No, they're not quarantined nowhere. These drug dealers are leaving this area, moving in neighborhoods that are quiet, a safe haven. When they wake up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they run back into this area and shoot. You got people from Jeanerette, Lafayette, Abbeville, all over, comes to this place to sell their dope. That's all I have to say is bring back the police department. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 2, acceptance of the minutes. Madam Clerk.
Acceptance of the minutes of the February 8, 2017 meeting as published on February 17, 2017.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to accept.
Motion by Council Member Ledbetter. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Council Member Guidry. Do I have any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion carries. Now we'll move on to item number 3, persons to address the council.
Candace Perrette, candidacy for Judge, 3rd Circuit Court of Appeals.
Good evening. First of all, thank you all very much for letting me come tonight and introduce myself. I'm sorry I had my back to everybody. I wanted to introduce myself to everybody here tonight. My name is Candace Perrette, and I am a candidate for judge on the 3rd Circuit Court of Appeal. I am running for the seat recently vacated by Judge Jimmy Genovez, and the election is right up on us. It's March 25th, so trying to let everybody know to go out and vote. Early voting starts on March 11th. A lot of people don't even realize that there is an election on the ballot. So we're trying to let as many people know as possible. I wanted to come tonight and tell you a little bit about myself and why I am running for this seat. I live in Lafayette with my husband and 3 sons. We are very active in the community through various nonprofit organizations, and we're also very active in our church. And we feel strongly that public service. We feel strongly about public service and giving back to our community, and we're very engaged in the community in Lafayette. I grew up in a small rural community. I'm from Marksville. I think when the only two things come out of Marksville are the casino and Edwin Edwards. But I country girl, grew up in the country. My mom was a high school English teacher. My daddy worked at Angola for 35 years. My parents taught me the importance of hard work and self-reliance. I worked my way through college and law school, put myself through law school, and then started my law practice 20 years ago. I was very flattered that you thought I was much younger than I am, because I'm not going to tell y'all how old I am. Started my practice 20 years ago. I'll tell y'all that. I've been practicing law for 20 years. I'm very proud to say that I was the youngest city prosecutor ever appointed in the city, in my hometown of Marksville. Probably the only thing the mayor and the council have ever agreed on unanimously in Marksville. So I started my career as a city prosecutor in Marksville, and I also had a small country practice. If y'all are from the country, you understand what that's like. Handled every type of case that came through the door. So I've handled virtually every type of case that the appellate court would hear. I've litigated hundreds of cases. And I also am the only candidate in this race who has appellate experience. I worked on the appellate court in the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeal, so I know how to do this job. I feel like I could walk in the door tomorrow and hit the ground running. I also was a town attorney for several municipalities in St. Landry Parish, including Arnaville and Leonville, Cross Springs, and Port Barre. So I have experience with those municipalities and handling those type cases. And I'm also a business owner. So I bring a unique perspective, I think, to the bench. I have a very diverse legal background. I think that's important for a judge. This is a really important seat. A lot of people are not very excited about getting out and voting for a judicial seat unless they're an attorney or business owner, and it really affects all of us. The appellate court is a court of review, and that means they review all of the decisions of the lower courts in their district. So it's a really important position. And I really feel like we need good people to step up to the plate and run for these positions. We need fair and impartial judges on the bench, and that's part of why I'm running. I also am an English major, so I really love research and writing and legal analysis, and that's what this position is all about, and that's what I'm good at, and I feel like that's how I can give back and best serve my community. I'm very proud. If you've seen my advertisements, you've seen the number of endorsements I have. The newspaper told me they couldn't fit any more names, so I stopped at what we had. But I'm very proud to have so many good people behind me, including many elected officials who have publicly endorsed me, community leaders, business leaders, and much of the law enforcement community. As a former city prosecutor, it means a lot to me to have so many in the law enforcement community behind me. It's important to me that they've chosen me as their candidate. So anyway, that's a little bit about me and why I'm running. Thank you very much for allowing me to take your time tonight. What you're doing is very important, and thank you very much for doing that. And please go vote on March 25th. We need everybody to get out and vote. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Next person to address the council, Ms. Carol Whipp, Iberia Council on Aging.
Thank you for letting me address you this evening. And I won't tell my age, but I do qualify for the Council on Aging services, which is 60 or above, okay? So I've been at the Council on Aging for 17 years and 7 years as the director. I also want to thank, I know several years ago y'all had to remove money from the local nonprofits. You had to take that out of the budget because of budget woes. But I still want to thank the city because I hold 6 big dances a year for our senior citizens at City Park. That's for free. And I also want to thank you for letting us use the Slum and Theater every year for our Seniors Got Talent. That adds up. You know, I know people try to call and say, well, what do you think about being cut? I can't blame the city or the parish with the financial woes. You know, this is the economy right now. But I will never down what the city and the people of New Iberia has done for the Council on Aging. And I just want y'all to know that. This past 2 weeks, we've been working. Of course, our state has financial problems, and they're making cuts. And the Councils on Aging were working on, they're looking at $500,000 in cuts for the Councils on Aging. Now, when you divide that by 64 parishes, the $7,800 doesn't seem like a lot, or whatever it amounts to. But for somebody whose budget is very meager as it is, and that all comes in the fourth quarter, then that does make a cut for the Councils on Aging. You know, we got some parishes that don't have to worry about that. I think there's Terrebonne Parish that has between a $6 and an $8 million millage a year, depending on the taxes. They probably won't be affected by it. Some of the other parishes won't be, but our little parishes will be. But we've been hearing some good news. They're trying to put us back into the budget, and we have been contacting the legislatures. I wrote to the senators on Monday. I did all the legislatures last week. But I also want to know that we serve the people here in Iberia Parish. You'll have my brochure, and it says, Serving the Deserving, the Elderly of Iberia Parish. And a lot of you just associate us with the home-delivered meals to our homebound elderly. We have a lot more, and this brochure shares that. But our most expensive program to operate is a home-delivered meals and congregate meals program. We're contracted for 194 meals a day, 250 days a year. We're delivering right now 216 meals because of the United Way donations that we get. They pay strictly to purchase extra meals. They don't pay for any mileage or anything like that. And I just want to tell you, I haven't looked it up. I haven't had time. 2 years ago, we drove 48,500 miles to deliver meals in Iberia Parish. And we pay our drivers, you know, the mileage to do this. But every single one of us in this room tonight has a stake in this. Natalie, in your district, we deliver 10 meals to people in your district. Marlon, we deliver 23 meals to senior citizens in your district. David Broussard, District 3, 15 meals a day. District 4, Ms. Ledbetter, 19 meals a day. District 5, Sherry, we deliver 25 meals a day to your district. In Dustin Swear, we deliver 6 meals a day in your district. Then we have our parish that we also deliver to. These meals are vital to our senior citizens. Our goal is to help them stay at home as long as possible and do it with dignity. I mean, if you're having to scrounge around like so many of our seniors are, or they're feeling left out, they're not doing it with dignity. And I am thankful that there are nursing homes and facilities that these people who, when they get to the point they can't take care of themselves, that they have these options to do. We do have a caregiver program. How many times do you hear about the caregivers dying before the sick patient, their sick loved one, because they get worn out? So take the time to look at what we offer. I mean, you'll see the dances. So many of y'all have participated and helped support our dances. But know there's other services that we do. We do utility assistance. May is Older Americans Month. And we will be having our annual dance, and we honor those 90 years and above. And we hopefully will have some 100-year-olds there this year. One year we had 400-year-olds that were able to make it to our dance. Our theme this year is the senior prom. And you'd be surprised how they're all looking at Goodwill and things like that to try to find dresses for senior prom. But we're going to have a basic theme of the roaring 20s, because these seniors who are in their 90s were born in the 20s. That's a long time, and they've seen a lot of history in our community. Then we have Seniors Got Talent on May the 17th. We had a 94-year-old woman at a daycare last year who won and played the harmonica. She was amazing. And we have 4 categories. We have gifts, monetary. gifts. And also in May, I'm working with the parish government with the emergency response. And there's a lot of things out there for senior citizens. You know, you have those people who are medically limited, and they go to City Park at the Veterans Memorial, and then they're taken out by ambulance there, and they have a caregiver with them. They can go outside if there's an emergency. But there's a lot of our seniors who might just have a slight disability, some dementia, but they don't qualify for that special medical emergency. That's the group that we're going to be addressing. What are their plans if there's an emergency? You know, do they have somebody to take them? And there is nothing sadder than to see a senior citizen dropped off at the Sugar Arena to evacuate from this town and be put on a bus and go into Shreveport or Monroe, or I think we might have a contract with Ruston, I'm not sure at this point, and they get in their car and they go somewhere else. They drop their senior citizens off. I am a member of the CERT team. I was there when those people came back after that last evacuation from the hurricane, and some of them got on the wrong bus. You know, the big buses brought them back to Iberia. Thank goodness that the school buses were there, and somebody said, well, I will take them back to St. Martinville. You know, we're not going to call family members at 2 o'clock in the morning to come get them. So just think about your loved ones. We are all aging, every single one of us. And I don't think I have my plan of what's going to happen in the future. You know, we handed out at our last dance from DOTD about transportation for our community. Only 2 people filled it out because they're not facing transportation issues at this point. But our parish does not have public transportation that can get us from one point to another. And DOTD is working on that. I'm part of an alliance in Lafayette to help with this. And I would like a proclamation. We usually do in May, we give y'all a list, the city, of those seniors who are 90 and above, and y'all do a little certificate for them, and declare Older Americans Month in May. I have an excerpt from former President Obama's last year's proclamation. Within the next 13 years, more than 1 in 5 Americans will be of retirement age. And we must make it a priority to ensure that they are able to retire and live with dignity and respect. Aging affects us all. One of the best measures of a country and a community is how it treats its older citizens, and somebody else said earlier, the younger citizens. During Older Americans Month, let us pay tribute to the men and women who raised, guided, and inspired us, and let us honor their enduring contributions to our society by safeguarding their rights and the opportunities they deserve. I thank you. Older Americans Month theme this time is Age Out Loud. And it says, strive for wellness, know your rights, stay engaged, and explore new things. So that is what we're going to be giving out to our seniors. I age out loud by. And what are they doing? Are they getting healthier? Are they finding out what's available for them? Are they being involved in their own lives? I thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions?
I just want to mention, I want to thank Ms. Carroll and her staff. If you haven't been to one of those functions, you're missing out. Makes you really want to age quick so you can enjoy it. But you do a great job,
Yeah.
And I know so many of them look forward to those events. And I hope things get better. Maybe we can do a little more for y'all. But, you know, like you said, this is the whole community. So
Right.
the community can always come, give your place a call, and help out, you know, because it's a blessing. It makes you feel special when you go to. And thank you all for all the time and the limited funding y'all have. And when you call people, it's very hard to say no. I mean, because it goes to a great, great cause. And thank you for all y'all do.
I would like to see y'all maybe one day come ride with our drivers and deliver meals and see what's involved in that and what is involved with the community.
Okay.
You know, I drove a meal route yesterday. I was 2 hours late. My GPS sent me the wrong way, but they all got their meals yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if you give me that information, we'll make sure that we put that together for May. For the proclamation? Yes. Thank you. All right. Our next person is to address the council, Chandler Staples, and that's about our Jefferson Terrace drainage project. I'm going to let you do it.
Thank you. Chandler Staples with Staples Engineering. As you may know, we've been working on the Jefferson project for a little over a year now. We finally developed a full set of plans to get the diversion from the Bayou Teche to Lemaire Street. And we've gotten our permits for the railroad and for the property crossings. At this time, we're ready to put it out to bid. However, the estimate now is about $3.5 to $3.75 million to get to Lemaire. Our original budget, I believe, what was passed was $1.5 million.
Yes.
A year and a half ago or so. So at some point, we'll have to look at paring down the project, possibly to get it under the track at least, since getting that railroad permit was one of the hardest things we had to do as part of this project. I'd at least like to be able to utilize that permit. If we could get there, it's about $2 million to get from the Teche to underneath the tracks near Coburn's.
Because you and I met on that a few weeks ago, and I said that I knew I couldn't spend that.
Understood.
You've got
right.
to cut it down.
Yeah. So, and this is our estimate after we picked the route, looked at all the utilities, the conflicts, what we got to do with the road, and everything involved with it. And I don't see how we can shave much more money other than just paring down the scope of the project. The pipe sizes don't change, the route doesn't change. It's just the length of the project would be shortened.
And just to bring the council up to speed real quick, we have a little over $3 million in our drainage fund from the mosquito control money that is utilized for drainage. When Chandler came to me right after, 6 weeks ago, probably my second week, we talked about it, and that was just too much money. I can't spend the whole drainage fund. We are reimbursed. More money comes in every year, but I could not see, while it's an important project, and we do need to get under the railroad track or we can't drain all that area of Jefferson Terrace. He and I had a conversation about paring the project down. At 6 weeks in, 7 weeks in, I'm not sure what else is coming. If there is another drainage concern that we would need to address with that money, so I was very skeptical to spend. It had been approved, but when the previous council approved it, it was a half the size. Seeing how the project had ballooned, I knew we had to cut it down. So that's kind of what we're in the process of doing, is saying we do need to do it. We do need to get under that track to be able to proceed with draining those areas, but we're going to have to do it in stages. I mean, I'm just not comfortable at this early stage in all of our term, really, in this new term, to spend that much money. Any questions?
Anybody got a question?
No, I just have a comment because, of course, that's in my district, and everybody knows that it's a real big problem. Just a regular rain sometimes floods it out. So I'm saying any help, whether it's in stages or not, towards helping that particular area, is greatly appreciated from everybody.
And I'll reiterate that if I can get under the tracks, we will be able to divert a good bit of drainage off of Jefferson. Even though we're not making it to Lemaire, we'll still be doing some good for the, call it phase one of the project.
Phase one.
Yeah.
And what would your budget be for just phase one?
It looks like 2 to 2.1.
And that, if that's something that we elect to do as a council, we're not wasting any money. From the pipe sizes are the same, and when we go to do the rest of the project, it all ties in.
Take off from there.
You just take off in a manhole and keep moving. So, we're not.
Absolutely.
And the big expense is to get under the railroad track?
The big expense and the time spent to get that permit is been with the railroad, BNSF. So that's what I'm hoping we can at least utilize what we've gotten so far.
And time frame to react to this and move on it before we lose something?
We're ready to go. We need to submit a signed, executed contract to BNSF, and as soon as we get that back, we can go out to bid. So.
Ready.
Yes.
Can we give you the authority for him to make the project into 2 phases so we can at least get the first one out to bid?
Yes, that's kind of the point of tonight, was to have a discussion about it, to let you know where the funds were coming from, and to break that project apart. There was no way that I could see that we could, I mean, it's something that was started in the previous administration. I know that there is a need, but I just knew I did not want to bite that bullet in our first couple of months. So I'll entertain if there is a motion to do something with it. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Dahl?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to split the project into, our budget.
Yep.
To get underneath the railroad track so we don't lose all the work and the permit process and put it out to bid. And at that point, it's not a commitment, but it's just something where we can see what we
Correct.
can afford to do.
Correct.
I
Yeah.
second that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Dahl and a second by Councilmember Ledbetter. Since this is involving money, I would ask you to vote your machines. Motion carries. Great. Well,
Thank
then,
you.
if you can get that together for us, and just know that we'll put it out for bid. We're going to do our best, but that is something that we're still not committed. At that point, once we have the firm cost, if something else has come up, you can not elect not to do the project. But I think that at this point, with the amount of work, the permits we've gone through, and the amount of time that this has been going on, I think that this is a good process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're going to move on to item number 4, property standards. Madam Clerk?
Revisit of 212 Rogier Street and 822 West Washington Street.
All right, I got the owner. He's here. On the pictures, you can see they were working this last week when I took the pictures, and they've completed that side of the structure. So I'll let him tell you what the project, what's going on.
We've completed
The back end.
we've completed all around as of today.
Okay. That's Dustin's district.
All of that was
Yeah,
open, the
yeah.
back windows, all that,
Right.
all that's enclosed out there. So in the front,
Okay.
those facial boards.
Councilmember Swift?
As far as the other
I would like to
side.
vouch. Today, I want to make a quick pass just to check, just to double check. And like you were saying, you're doing a great job, and I appreciate that, what you're doing. And I would make a motion to take it off the list. That's possible.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Swear and a second by Councilmember Ledbetter to remove this house from the list.
Yes, sir.
Any further discussion?
Thank you.
Any objections? No objections. Motion carries.
All right.
Madam Clerk?
Yeah.
Yep. 822 West Washington Street.
Anybody here for that?
Anybody here for this property?
You want to come up? All right, after the last meeting, Mr. Narcisse was here. He passed away, so there's going to be some legal issues probably with the succession and everything else for the home.
Right.
Maybe he can fill us in and let us know what's going on.
Well, I have to wait. My nephews that haven't came yet, and they're still working on the house. So I don't know how much longer they're going to be before they do. They just have to do the back of the house, put the cakes on the back.
Right.
You know, that's about all they have to do to the back.
The box.
Right.
In the backyard.
Right.
Okay. How long will it take?
I'm not sure when they're going to be here.
All right.
Well, first of all, we're very sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
And, I mean, this is something that I realize you'll need some time. Whose district is this?
Sherry.
Sherry. Okay. Councilmember Sherry? I mean, Gidry?
You want a recommendation? Okay, I'll recommend 90 days for this one, and then we can revisit it at that time. Okay.
So from my understanding, just to be clear, the trash that's in the back of the house, did we actually pick that up yet, or we didn't get a chance to get
No,
that done?
they didn't
Okay,
yet.
that's fine.
Haven't had any time.
That's fine. And I'm sorry for your loss.
You have a recommendation?
And the recommendation is?
90 days,
90 days.
June 6th.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Second by Councilmember Lewis. Do we have any further discussion on this item? No objection? Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Moving on with item number 5, resolutions. Madam Clerk?
Appointment of Sonia Tozan to the Dangerous Animal Committee to replace Krista Borget.
We have a motion by Councilmember Lopez. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Broussard. Do we have any discussion? We have no discussion. Since it's an appointment, please vote your machines. Motion carries. Next item on resolutions, item B. Madam Clerk?
Acceptance of the 2016 System Survey and Compliance Questionnaire for Audit Engagements of Government Agencies.
And just to tell you, this is an audit requirement. Our finance director, Fayetta, fills it out and answers all the questions, and we just go through this procedure of approving it so that it can be sent in. So, do we have a motion? Motion by Councilmember Broussard. Do we have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Lewis. Do we have any discussion on this item?
That was for the prior year,
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Any questions? Yes.
Tell everybody to make sure your address is right. The first year they had my address wrong.
Okay. All right. Good point.
No, serious. They had my address wrong where it lists all the council members.
Okay. All right.
If everybody read it.
Thank you. We're checking. Any other comment? Okay. If you don't mind, we'll vote our machines. Carries. Thank you. Now we move on to resolutions. Item C.
Approval of the participation of 1101 East Admiral Drive, New Iberia, Louisiana, owned by Community First Bank and further identified by the Louisiana Board of Commerce and Industry as application number 2015-1346 in the Property Tax Abatement Program as authorized by Act 445 of the 1983 Legislature as amended by Act 783 of the 1984 Legislature and Article 7, Section 21H of the Louisiana Constitution, effective July 10, 2002.
So moved.
So moved by Mayor Pro Tem Dahl. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Oh, okay. Councilmember Lopez. Do we have any discussion? Yes. Councilmember Guidry.
The tax abate program reduces and eliminates the amount of property taxes the owners pay or construction on the building. I understand that the taxes will be paid on the value of the property that's improved, but how much was the property tax before the tax abatement program?
Now, that's a very good question. I can't tell you that I know that. I know the program. This was done a few years ago prior to us, and then it had... you couldn't go back because the previous mayor had signed it, so we're just passing this resolution to correct because there was something we needed to, in the wording, had to be corrected. I can find out, but I can't tell you that I know what those taxes were. And it's a great program. What it does is spur development. It freezes the taxes at the time we do it. It's a great incentive. It's for 5 years. It can be renewed for another 5 years. These economic development zones are something that is, in our toolbox and that, we need to use. Any other discussion on this? Please vote your machines. Carries. Thank you, and I'll get you that answer.
Okay, thank you.
Agenda item number 6. Items for discussion. I'll go ahead and start. I put this on, and then we'll have a discussion about it. What we're doing, and this is going to be an ongoing thing, whether we go with a new contract, whether we look at what other options we have for law enforcement, it's my job to get the information to you and to give you as much information as I can before we make any decisions. So what I have included tonight, Exhibit A is a copy of the present contract. That way we can look at it. You can see, how it's been, how the contract is worded, what indicators are in the contract. That way you have the ammunition to go through this and the time to research. So the first thing I've included is a copy of the present contract. The second thing we've included are a few. We went back and listened to all the tapes, as well as attending neighborhood watch programs. So it's just some of the concerns that we've heard from the community. So I went ahead, and I think every month I'll go ahead and just jot these down as I hear them, and this will be an ongoing thing that we recognize that we are listening and hearing, remarks that the community has made and what we've heard. Item number C are the steps to take to head to an election. You'll see on there the first thing we have to do is we have to notify the state senators and representatives that we have an intent to call an election. That is in April. That's on April the 4th. That's 4 meetings from now. So I'm going to try to, every meeting I'll be bringing you more information. But this is just a chart that tells you how you get to a ballot in October. As you know, I can't tax anybody. The citizens can only tax themselves. I have proposed a half-cent public safety tax. That is something we'll be talking about much more. But these are the steps we have to take to head to a ballot in October. The next thing I've included is Exhibit D, which shows you the 1% tax from 1960. Which is a long time ago, shows you what it's paid. And the bulk of that tax goes to law enforcement. Almost 75% pays for law enforcement. What I have also included is Exhibit E, which is the tax call from 1960, which shows you at the time what this 1% tax was doing for our community. It paid for police, fire, the construction improvement of streets, bridges, or sewage, and for any work of public permanent improvement in the city of New Iberia. Basically, our buildings, all of our facilities. So that tax is there. I had someone question me the other day, we already have a 1-cent tax. We as a city have a 1-cent tax from 1960 that paid for almost everything in the city. What has happened now is all of that money has shifted over time to the law enforcement contract, or the bulk of it. A little bit of it still goes to the fire department. Having said that, when you go to our parks and you see that we don't have new roofs, when you see that this building needs a roof as well, when you go to the various facilities and see that they need work, when you look through our departments and see that our fleets are old, our snorkel truck's 42 years old, all of our trucks were bought many years ago. When you look at in each department, there's no money in a budget to stagger equipment. You know, you never run a company that you have to buy the whole fleet at once, but that's where we are these days. Because the money has been used for one thing, to pay for law enforcement. So I'm not a tax guy. This is not something that is pleasant, but I think that we have to try. If we are not satisfied with what we have, if we see that there is need for improvement, costs go up. Costs have gone up since 1960, I can tell you. So if we're going to do something different, it's going to take acting differently. It's going to take doing something different. And that difference is that we're going to need more money, regardless of what option we take. I can tell you that in the next few meetings, probably for the next meeting, I'll be bringing you a budget and a chart on what a new police department where that might land. I'll be bringing you in the next month or two, probably 2 more meetings, a proposed contract from the sheriff. Right now, Jeff Simon, our attorney, and Steve Elledge, the sheriff's attorney, are going back and forth, or beginning to. So there'll be some discussions, and then I'll bring you a proposed contract. But the first step is you got to know where you've been to know where you're heading. So this packet is to give you the information to where we can start, and as these other things come in, we can begin to digest it and to look at it and have something to compare it to. So tonight is information. This will be ongoing. I really think that from now till October, you're going to have that one heading, Iberia Parish Sheriff's Office contract renewal, or options, however you want to look at it. We're going to be talking about this for a while, because I think this is the most important function of government. We need to flesh it out together as a team, and I can't do it without you. You know, and ultimately you vote, and we decide together to present this and go in the direction we need to go in, and it's all about our town. It's all about the safety, and it's all about the future of our community. So I'll open it up for discussion if we, that's where I'm at. Yes, Councilmember Ledbetter.
Yes, thank you. I did look at the contract, and I had several questions about it, because if we're going to renew the contract, I had some questions about it, and I do want to get with you about those specific items before we enter in any kind of renewal of a contract.
Oh, believe me, you will. That's why we're starting now. You figure there's 9 meetings, okay? If we would wait, I'm not saying that we'd have to, but if we wait till the 11th, I don't want to start negotiating. I don't want to start talking about I don't want to wait till the last minute, okay?
Right.
We have 9 meetings till the June 20th meeting. I promise you will see everything along the way, because this is y'all decision.
And one thing that I noted at the end of it, it said if you wanted to get out of the contract or anything, you had to give 365-day notice.
Yes.
So, just to make everybody aware of that.
Yes, ma'am. Great. Do we have any further comments? Yes. Councilmember Lopez.
Yeah, that's in there, but that contract expires this year, so we're
Correct.
review that wording's not going to be on there. Like we're going to have the option to change that because this contract won't.
Correct. We'll be entering into a new contract.
I have a couple questions, but I'm not going to get on a soapbox. Who is acting as our liaison right now since Mr. Nicc is not here?
We don't have a liaison. They've been reporting. I communicate with Captain Freeman.
Well, we went through a period where the mayor said, I'm the liaison. So is that how we're operating right now? Just so we know.
I would say yes, because I don't have the funds to bring one back, so.
That's fine.
Yes.
I just want for the public to know.
I understand.
And then the liaison for the sheriff, is it still Spike? Because Spike doesn't come to the meetings.
I've been communicating with Captain Freeman. That's who's been my main.
Captain Freeman is the liaison?
That's who I've been communicating with. I don't have a liaison assigned. We sure can.
Next meeting, I would like a clear-cut description of who is the liaison
From the sheriff's
that he has
department.
appointed.
That's fine.
And who comes to the meeting. The contract says he doesn't have to send a liaison, he can just send a representative.
Correct.
But, for communication purposes, I would like to know.
I'll be glad to.
And that goes hand in hand because, the paragraph about the liaison right now, until we figure out what we're doing, is most important to me. Because in this contract, the liaison has the ability to look at the crime maps, keep up what's going on. And, we need to figure something out as far as just staying abreast of what he's allowing us to stay abreast on.
Okay.
That's important to me as well. It says, again, the liaison for the city can attend the shift briefings at patrol. That's important to me that we have access to that. Whether or not, what we're paying Mr. Nicc was, more than you would pay the average bear. He's a retired sheriff. But I'm not opposed to having maybe just a part-time person for the next year until we get this all moving and shaking like we want, to be our eyes and ears and, like I said, take advantage of the access that we do have. If we have the ability to send someone to patrol briefings, I think that's important for us to know what goes on at those briefings. I think it's very important. So I really think we need to take advantage of that. They also have access to the GPS and the ARM system. Once again, if we have access to that and we can pay someone $15,000 a year to work part-time for us to do that job, I'm just throwing out a random number, but there's plenty of retired officers in this community. I think that would come and help us for a low part-time rate. That's just the idea that I have. It says they have to provide animal control. Well, we all know that they just pulled that out. So there's no penalty for that. So I guess we can just take that out. That's something.
I've talked to the Humane Society. Tony with the Humane Society has been helping us so far.
Yeah, the Humane Society is very helpful and very accessible. But as far as law enforcement,
it's not in the last negotiation.
The Humane Society cannot go and arrest someone for beating their dog.
I know. In the last contract negotiation, they decided there was no more animal control officer.
It says they're going to maintain a professional standards unit. I've never heard such thing over there. Maybe I just missed it. Another thing that's very important to me is when negotiating is housing of prisoners and transportation. You don't think about that, but like when we're in court and they have to bring 20 people to court every day, that to me is something that may be able to stay with them because it's, we're never going to have our own jail. Not in the next 4 years. Let's be realistic. So they're going to control the jail. So if they're going to control the jail, it's going to be the most efficient and secure way for them to transport those prisoners in and out of the jail, as opposed to us sending people. You don't like outside traffic in and out of the jail. It's dangerous. It increases your risk. So I definitely think that we need to reach out to them and see if the jail rate is going to stay the same. Can we lock it in? And what kind of details they're going to have what kind of pay rate they would have as far as transportation. Because that is a big thing, transporting. If we have people that are for the city, incarcerated in the jail that have to go to court or medical appointments, I mean, they bust people all day long out there. That's one of my concerns. And then my last big thing, and it's going to be what it's going to be, though, is that, it's like I said here, I just say the animal control thing. We can write up the most perfect contract that we want. But if they choose not to do something, we really have no leverage to say, well, why you didn't do that? Go put the animal control back. So, and that's fine. And that's fine. And that's not a dog that I'm gonna fight, because there's no point. But that's why I think the liaison is so important. I think that it needs to be totally, the scope of it has to be separate from what we did with Mr. Narcan, because the point of Mr. Narcan was to really get some eyes and ears of where we needed to move. Now, we've gotten to that point. We're going to try to move in a new direction, but we still need eyes and ears. It's like our office. I have 3 offices. I have one in St. Martin, Iberia, and St. Mary. If I don't send anyone ever to St. Martinville, how do I know what's going on over there? We need to have someone, like I said, who's abreast. And like I said, we have I believe, plenty of retired officers in the community that would apply for it. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Councilman Bennett.
About Mr. Narcan. I know he was the liaison and we weren't on the council then and all. But for, to the people who were here, did you all ever get any reports as to what was going on?
Can I?
Yeah, sure. We weren't. There's only 2 of y'all that were here.
Yeah. I know. Robert's rules, I like to be
I thank you very
wait,
much. I appreciate that.
He never directly reported to us. He directly reported to the mayor. And she reported back to us. But to say I ever read a report from him, no, ma'am.
Okay.
If I had some concerns, I would sometimes call the mayor's office, and then they would have him call me.
Okay. Councilmember Swear?
I have a question. When it comes down to our comparisons with tax rates to other municipalities in the area or surrounding parishes, our size,
Well,
do you have a number?
Yeah, you'll be getting that in the next packet. I got it today, but I wasn't really ready to. But I brought it. We picked 20 cities in Louisiana. Right now, we're at 9.5. We're down at the bottom. We're the third to lowest of these 20 that we picked. And I mean, it's just kind of random. Did a Google search today, and they printed it out for me, and then Hillary got it in some kind of order. The highest is Monroe at 10.99, and they go all the way down. Lafayette is the lowest on these first 20 that we checked. They're at 9. But many cities are at 10, 10.5, 10.75. So if you look at this chart, if we were successful in passing a half-a-cent tax, we'd be right in the middle. We would be right in the middle with many communities, but this was my first Google, and then she put it in order. I plan on doing more. It doesn't have quite as many as I'd like to see, but basically from my first search, we'll end up right in the middle. And some communities, when you're in a TIF zone, like we would be, Broussard would be higher than us in a TIF zone. Youngsville would be higher than us or equal to us, depending if you were in or out of a TIF zone. Lafayette is lower at 9% unless you're shopping in one of the TIF zones there. So we would end up being right from most of the research. And like I said, I only did this today. I'll be bringing you that at the next meeting. But I think we would land right in the middle. There are many communities that the tax rate is higher. Because I spoke at a function about 3 weeks ago and got pinned in the corner that we had the highest taxes, and I kept saying, no, we don't. So I'm on my phone trying to Google it. Some people have misinformation, just like some people have gotten mixed up about that 1% tax, like we were going to go for a 1% tax or that, So anyway, but I will be putting that together in the next packet, and I think you're going to see we're going to end up right in the middle of most communities.
Mayor?
Yes.
When we were trying to pass a recreation tax prior to you, one thing we had to compare to too, Dustin, was a property tax. A lot of times our property tax is higher and our sales tax is lower then it kind of equal out. Sometimes the property tax was lower, that's why the sales tax is so much higher in certain areas. And that's something we might want to bring up too. But because our millages might be higher and our property tax might be lower, but their property tax might be lower and their sales tax will be higher. So we got to see which we get most bang on our bucks. But we need to compare that too, Mayor.
Okay.
Please.
You had our biggest elephant.
Councilmember Broussard.
Our biggest elephant we have is the money. I've had a lot of phone calls from elderly, mostly in a negative way for this tax. I'm just being upfront.
No, it's fine.
Weeks ahead. So if it's as bad as this week, we have to do some selling to the people in a big way if we're going to have this thing go through. For some reason, it's the economy or what, they having some negative tones. To me, I'm sure you're getting some phone calls too. It's going to be serious to overcome that big elephant. We have to sell it. That's all I have to say.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Broussard. And look, nobody likes taxes. I don't like taxes either. But if public safety is the top priority of any community. Anyway, Councilmember Lewis.
Yeah, again.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sharon.
The way I look at it is we all ran successful campaigns. So when we decide to do the tax, we all need to be obligated to try to run a campaign for this tax to pass. Promote this tax, because we all ran on we need a police department back. To me, the biggest elephant in the room is what happens if, as a council, we decide to not renew the sheriff's contract. What's our worst case scenario? To me, that's the biggest elephant in the room. What happens if we don't renew his contract?
Correct. Well,
a lot of people don't think it need to be renewed.
Right. Well, I think you'll see at the next meeting is when I plan on bringing a budget and looking at the cost for a PD, and that's one of the options. It's always an option. But I think we need to wait and discuss that when we have the figures in front of us. But we do have some hard choices. You're exactly right, and we are going to have to get out there and explain it to people. Nobody likes taxes. I don't either. But we're going to have to explain it to people that what we're going to do, and they're going to have to trust us. And for them to trust us, we're going to have to explain ourselves very thoroughly, which I think this is the first step.
Again, worst case scenario, because that's the questions I'm getting. Do we have an answer for a worst case scenario if we decide to not bring the sheriff department back? What is he obligated to do?
Well, the sheriff is the sheriff for the whole parish. But I can tell you there's Attorney General's opinions that say he is the sheriff, but he decides what level of law enforcement you get. If Angeline Parish tried this, they got rid of their police department and said, well, we just think the sheriff should do it. He's the sheriff. He's the sheriff for the whole parish. They weren't wrong in thinking that, and the answer came back from the Attorney General. You're exactly right. He is the sheriff, and he's responsible, but he's going to tell you what he's responsible for. He is going to give you the level that he feels necessary. So you're not going to say, I quit, and then get what you get now or what you might want. So it's really simple in a way. It's a very complicated moving parts issue, but you don't have a lot of choices. You have a choice to renew a contract, to try to get the best contract we can and renew it. You have a choice to say, all right, we have from our 1960 tax, we have the money we're spending on law enforcement now. So if it's $6.3 million is what that 1% brings in, and we end up that we have $5.5 million to $6 million that is not going to the debt service or to the fire department. One option is to look and see what can I do for that money, and I'm going to be bringing that. But the problem is, it's not enough. I would not be asking for a tax, and we wouldn't be going through this. I mean, I'll just speak plainly. We wouldn't be going for this and asking for a tax if that was enough money to do something. You've got probably $2 million to $2.5 million worth of upfront costs. We don't own a gun, a badge, a uniform, or a car, or a 700 radio system. Or I can go down the list. It's about this long because I've been putting it together for the last 4 or 5 months. We don't have any of those things. So right away, we need the money to buy all those things if that's an option. The next thing, you got to have a fully functioning department. Well, the Sheriff's Department furnishes all the 911 operators. That's 8 of them plus a supervisor. Well, the Sheriff's Department does it now, but they do it for themselves. So not only would we need the 60-something officers to 70, between 60 and 75, depending on how you look at the organizational chart, which I'll be bringing you pretty soon, you also need to hire all those 911 operators because somebody's got to take our calls. So when you look at that, when you look at the CAD system, when you look at the radio, I'm coming with all of that. They're checking my figures now. But your options are limited. And if you bring back too small of a department, then you can't sustain it. The other thing, we all know, civil service, if you're a town of 15,000 people, it is state law. It's not my law. You're never going to change that law. You're not going to go against every other police department, every fire department, every civil service in every community. If you're over 15,000 people, you have to be civil service. Okay? So civil service comes with requirements. You also come with, you see that with our departments. It comes with a 2% raise. I don't want to come to you in 2 years and say, man, we got a police department and it's working, but now we got to go find some money somewhere else because I can't afford the 2% raise. 2% raise is probably close to $200,000, $150,000 for sure. So I want to make sure that what we do we can sustain, regardless of what it is. If it's a new contract, if it's a department, I don't want to be looking at y'all in 2 years and say, what kind of road did we go down that we weren't prepared for? So I'll be coming with all these budgets, coming with all these figures, and we're going to have some choices to make. What a fully functioning department would cost, what a cut-down department would cost, and if it would function properly, and what a new contract might look like. Because they're going to do the contract and present it to us. We're going to give them what we want. We're going to give them our wish list. We're going to give them comparisons to this contract. We're going to give it to them. And, if you can't say no, you're not negotiating. But at the same time, we're going to get to a point in 9 meetings that we're going to have to make a decision. So I'm coming with all of that. I can't give you a clear answer tonight. As you can see, I can tell you that the options are coming. If I had the clear answer, we wouldn't. This meeting would be over. That's why we're here, and that's why we're having these discussions. But I respect your position, and like I said, I'll be coming, and we're going to have a lot to talk about for quite a few meetings.
And it's not my position. It's a lot of people
I
in
know
this community.
And I'm hearing it too.
And to me, when I hear the word leverage, I mean, to me, the $6 million is the only leverage we have.
Yeah, but
I'm just saying.
You're right. You're right.
From what I'm hearing, and I'm just New Iberia may be running the whole sheriff department off the $6 million. So what accountability at? I hear about 10 officers on the street and all of that stuff. I mean, if we only getting 10 officers on the street, then if we don't renew the contract, then it seems like we'll be about the same if we don't renew the contract.
Well, we got to replace them with something. We would have nothing.
I'm just throwing it out.
No, I understand.
What I'm going to do at that time.
I totally understand, and like I said, just be patient that in the next couple of meetings, we're going to have these options fleshed out enough to where we can really start making some intelligent choices. Thank you. Councilman McGidry has been waiting, and best for last.
Well, I have some of the main concerns, but what I'm really concerned about is that we as a council, really get out there and it's the same thing as Councilman Lewis said and Natalie, that we really get out there and educate our citizens about what this all really means. I know we hold our regular city council meetings, but I just would like to see us do a little bit more, maybe a few town hall meetings, different locations of the city, and what this really all entails, and the actual proposal of a tax. Now, I did hear you mention, Mayor, that they're going to prepare the contract, and that type of stuff, but is there any way to where, even though they prepare a contract, I understand we don't have a lot to negotiate with, but as a council, can we all make some, you call it a wish list, I call it maybe fostering some objectives and objectives and plans that we all put together that we'd like to see in this contract. Meaning, for example, i.e., what about, just providing the police department and some cars and some equipment and all that, and all those things are necessary and essential. But what about in the contract? Can we have an objective from the police department saying, they want to improve community relations? Just little small things that we as a council within a new vision that we want to see and help move our city forward.
My plan is just that. Okay, you've got the packet of where we are. As we progress over these next 9 meetings, I totally think that in public, in front of the camera, with everybody hearing us, fleshing it out, we are going to come up with what you would want to see. And then the next step for that, and I'm about to turn it over to him, is that we're going to bring all those things to our city attorney. Our city attorney is going to be our negotiator, and we're going to bring it to him. That doesn't mean we're going to get them, but I do think that we need to make the list. We need to talk about the vision of what we'd like to see and put that in writing. And that will happen, because then people know we all have a brain, we're all plugged into the community, and we all know what we hear from our constituents and what people want. Now, what we want and what we get maybe won't be the same thing, but I think that part of this process, we have to do that. It is paramount that we make that list, that we at least attempt to see what we can get out of that content. It's all about communication. So I totally agree with you that is going to happen. What's good? What the result is going to be, I can't tell you. But I do know that we have to take those steps.
Okay. And lastly, it's slightly having to do with this, but a little bit off. I hear us negotiating dollars and cents and pennies, and I know that's very important. It needs to be done. But at the same time, I just want to talk a little bit about whether it be the city police department enforcing, if that's what the people want, city police department enforcing the law, or Iberia Parish Sheriff Office enforcing the law. The bottom line is, I still think we need to take a little bit closer look at some of the crime that's taking place on some of the things we can be able to do as a community. And like Mr. Maynard had got up and previously spoke, there are some problematic areas in our city, i.e. we have a few small establishments that are set up in local neighborhoods right next to residents. And the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because I've had, in one day, I've had over 80 calls from elderly residents concerned they can't go to sleep at night. Is certain establishments to where there's extreme loitering and extreme littering, rioting, fighting, loud music, and these are people that is going to purchase something from a small local establishment. And my thing is, what can we do as a council and things like that, where we know where the problems are, we can kind of pinpoint a few places where these problems are, and is it possible that we can revoke liquor licenses? I mean, it's quiet, it's radical, but if we're going to take our city back, there's certain places where that's harboring these type of behaviors, and if we want to really go after, in the meantime, while we negotiate dollars and cents and things like that, I mean, what else can we do in certain problematic areas where we know that it's not being enforced, that they're purchasing alcohol, liquor, but then all of a sudden they're standing on a parking lot all night like it's Bourbon Street, and then you have a lot of lawlessness going on. My phone is ringing off the ringer at all hours of the night. So I'm just trying to see, if we really want to start looking at the problem while we're negotiating our contracts, what else can we do as a council? Because people are looking to us, and they're trying to figure out what can be done while we do this. And that's my question tonight. And it's not just for the mayor, because I know he's doing everything possibly he can, and it's also for all of us. Is it possible, is it legal we can revoke licenses in these certain areas?
We're going to send that one to our attorney, but we do have city ordinance. Well, hang on. We're going to get, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you have a quantitative data that constantly show that there's calls after calls after calls, complaints after complaints after complaints in one particular area and a certain amount of statistics and stuff, what can we do?
Call ATF.
ATF, yeah.
Call the ATF and report them.
Okay, and then once that's being reported and things like that,
They come and investigate.
Right, and as a city, what can we do?
Support their decisions. But that's what they're doing.
As a city, what can we do as a city? Because at certain point,
Well, we are not at present law enforcement. So we have a book of ordinances. Now it's on the internet, but it's a book this thick. So I know that. We have those ordinances. So those who enforces those ordinances is our law enforcement. So we are in a spot that documenting that we can, as long as we have cooperation. ATF calling them is a positive thing. That's a separate group who will come in. So that's a great idea. There are some things that until we have someone to enforce those ordinances, till the Sheriff's Department decides they are enforcing them, till we make a call and find out if they are, that's where we are. That's the biggest part of law enforcement. So do I have an answer tonight of how I'm going to fix this? No, ma'am. If I did immediately, like I said, the meeting would be over. We'd be fixing it. We'd be celebrating that we fixed it. So I think that this is an ongoing discussion, but I think making that list of those items and pointing those things out to the community and to the people that we all represent is very important. And I think we have two more. Yes, Councilmember Lopez. Then we're going to go to our attorney.
Yes, I wanted to just touch back on what Mr. Lewis was talking about the $6 million and what we pay and what we have. And, it caused me to reflect back, this law enforcement discussion has been going on naturally here for like 20 years.
Yes, yeah.
But when I got elected 4
Since
years
04.
ago. Right, when I got elected 4 years ago, Mayor Kerr was the mayor, and Mayor Pro Tem Doyle was the Mayor Pro Tem. She was pro-police department, and he was pro-IPSO. I don't know where they are today, but that's where they were. And there was a lot of discussion about taxes and what we're going to do. And I went on like this month-long rampage. I did. I really went ballistic. And I got numbers, and I called sheriff's offices all over the state, cities. And the bottom line is, and I'll be the first to say if there's something I don't like about the sheriff's office, I'm going to be the first to say it. But the bottom line is he's not overcharging us for what other parishes are getting. We pay on the average between, when I broke it down, we pay on the average between each person that's populated in the parish pays about $2.75 to $3 a day to be protected by the sheriff's department.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's not a matter of if we're paying too much. It's a matter of we're not happy with what we're getting for what we're paying. Some people would describe that as I paid too much. If the bag of chips, has this many chips and you paid $2 for it, yes. But at the end of the day, it's chips, and that's how much chips cost. So if you don't like how many chips are in that bag, go find another bag, another brand that might have some more chips in it, basically. But when you come down, when it really boils down to it, that's where I just feel like we don't have much leverage anymore. And at the end of the day, what it's gonna come down to is the public either wants and is interested in paying for a tax to bring back a police department. And the question is going to be, well, what if I don't vote for the tax? Well, then what happens? Well, if you don't vote for the tax, what happens is we're going to still pay $6.1 million to the Sheriff's Department, 6.3 now, because we have to protect you. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm not leaving anybody unprotected. We're going to pay
It's not
that,
my plan.
And I'm going to say it like I tell it to my kids every day. You get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. That is just what it shall be. That I do not think that our current sheriff's department is incapable of giving us what we need. I don't. I think that the ball has been dropped somewhere down the road, and people have lost hope. And then on top of that, they had all that corruption with those officers that unfortunately just added more to the situation. But at the end of the day, it's a matter of you want to pay a little bit more to try to get something different, or you don't, and we just keep what we have, and that's it. I mean, I don't want to say it's simple, but at the end of the day, it kind of is. And so my biggest thing I'm telling people when they're frustrated and aggravated and what y'all going to do and what happens if we bring the police department back, well, who's going to run it? All I can tell you is please pay attention this year, because there's going to be a lot of information coming out and people need to pay attention. And I'm going to steal something from the school board. they passed their tax with plenty of success. You know, they sold us a dream of stadiums and turf and, you know, and they're following through. It's coming through. But, you know, the number one thing that they had that I had never seen before was that brochure. I don't know if anyone in the room saw it. They had a brochure, and it laid out everything they were going to do, a timeline, their goals, and it just really, you could put your finger on it. And you know what? You could put it in your little drawer. I say, like when I hand out my push card, you could put it in your little junk drawer at your house. And if in 2020, the school board said they were going to have this and this ready, you can go look at your card and be like, they doing it. Or you can be like, liars, I'm going to go to the meeting.
But one comment,
Yes.
Mayor, if I can.
Yes.
This tax is a public safety tax, meaning it affects the fire department, police department, and affects what else we can do in other departments. That's one thing we've got to be clear of, is that it's going to affect a bunch of things, not just one thing.
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct. Yeah, if you look at it, and I'm going to wrap this up because I do want to hear from our attorney. If you look at it, if the tax passes, when you look at the $6.3 million that the 1960 tax brings in now, when you add that with the $3 million that the half-cent tax would bring in, that's $9 million. I know I sound like the Ronco guy, and wait, there's more. But what it does do, it gives us a couple of $1 million to go back to throw at those issues that we have neglected. It gives you the money to fix our parks, at least some. It gives you the money to buy those new fire trucks. It gives you the money to make other road repairs because we're about bonded out on our road money. It gives you those funds that we desperately need to our other departments to act like a city again. So it does do more than just that. But Natalie's not wrong. I mean, I'm not going to judge anybody on why in 2004 they made decisions that they made. There were money issues then. Those decisions were made because they were a council and a mayor doing just like us and saying, we got some money issues, we got to figure something out. So those decisions were made. That's water under the bridge. Moving forward, she's not wrong. I research other communities. I look. You know, she was having a fit, well, it's my turn. I'm researching, I'm looking, I'm trying everywhere I can find. Most communities pay more in law enforcement, but it's because it's the most important thing of government. If you're going to only look at the cost, then you're going to get what you get. If you buy cheap, you get cheap. I mean, we need to look at the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is look at what communities spend on law enforcement. If we got to cut back, that's not the place to cut back. I think we're feeling the effects because it was cut back. And like I said, I'm not judging anybody. It's just the truth. You do get what you pay for. And in the end, we're going to have, maybe three options at best case. A small department, a full department, or another contract with the sheriff. That's our three choices. And I'm just trying to give you the facts and the information a meeting at a time, so that in 2 or 3 meetings, we'll have all the information. That gives us a couple of months to make our decision and to talk about it intelligently and move to the future. But she's not wrong that, in a way, it's a very complicated issue that's really got 3 simple answers. And I don't know how else to put it. There's a lot of moving parts. We have to sign a new contract with the sheriff because we can't leave people unprotected in July, and we don't go till a tax till October. And guess what? If the tax passes, we don't get any money till March and May of the following year. So we are in a weird transition that is going to take a lot of steps, and there are a lot of moving parts. My goal is to just give you the information so that we can all look at this intelligently and make a decision. And now I'm going to call on our city attorney, if everybody's kind of had their say.
I just want to point out, we don't have the information that y'all need.
Not yet.
To make decisions tonight.
No.
Y'all really have to make 2 different decisions. One is, what do you do starting July 1st for the next year? Because the way these contracts have been done for several years, it's an annual contract. You need to have something in place for July 1st because you don't have the money to start a department before July 1st, no matter what you want to do. So it's a question of getting the best possible contract for July 1st, probably to June 30th next year. And we've had some discussions with the sheriff. We don't know yet how many chips are in the bag. And we don't know yet what the bag is going to cost. And I don't think we can count on getting the same number of chips for the same price that we got last year. So that's going to be a tough question. So it's going to be a matter of doing the best we can. Now, there's some things we would like to have in that contract that the sheriff is not obligated to give us.
So we need to keep that in mind. So we're going to have to make the best deal that we can for the year. And then the second big decision is the council going to start the process of doing something different for the future? I think we know, for the time being, I'm not willing to go and play a big game of chicken and cancel the contract with the sheriff and have his people on the streets or not on the streets. I wouldn't recommend that, certainly. But we need to think, after we deal with the next year's contract, then we need to talk about, do we start a process to do something different? And that's that whole tax call process, which is long and drawn out, needs to be started long before we ever need the money. So you don't have the new contract with new terms and a new price. I don't think you can assume it's going to be the same contract for the same price that we've had in the past. Could be, but I wouldn't bet on it. So then some decisions are going to have to be made then, and then the long-term decisions, do you keep doing this year to year? You know, do you keep renewing this contract? Do you keep renegotiating terms, renegotiating price every year, or do you do something different? So I think this is going to start the process. You don't have enough information to make a decision tonight.
We know that.
Hopefully we're going to have some pretty soon. We've had a couple of meetings with the sheriff and people and talked about some of these terms, and we're going to get you some more information later. I don't want to negotiate in public, negotiate in the newspaper. You know, we're going to have those discussions outside of the public meeting with the sheriff. And I don't think he'd disagree with anything that I've said tonight, based on what the discussions we've had. But we're going to have to try to make the best deal we can and put in it what we can get that we think will improve law enforcement for the next year. And then you've got some big decisions to make for down the road.
Great. Councilmember Lopez. Thank you, Jeff.
I forgot. I've been holding on to it. Everybody keeps asking me, well, when we pay him, how much is that of what he actually gets? And I went the other day because I couldn't remember. His budget, just for general knowledge, so people know, his overall general budget is around $22 million, and we give him around $6 million. We are around 18% of his total budget, of his revenue. So when you look at it, we're 18% of his revenue, but the parish is 70,000 population, and we're 30,000. So we're about around the 40-ish% of what he has to cover as far as population, and we're paying him 20%. So we're really at a disadvantage. You know, and just that's the big question I keep getting. Well, what don't we pay him all this money? We do. We pay him a lot of money. But when you think about it, in the grand scheme of things, you know, we're close to 20% of his budget and about 40% of his population that he has to cover.
Yes, Jeff.
You're going to pay somebody a lot of money.
Yeah. That's a fair point.
It's a big, difficult job.
Full of liability.
Yep. Any other discussion? Well, I can't thank y'all enough. This is some good, honest discussion. I like this is government at work, and so we will continue to do our work. Next item is item number 7. We'll go around the table. Councilman's remarks. I'll go back to you, Councilman Lopez. I'll start on your end.
Nothing.
Thank you.
Two things. Mardi Gras, I think you said we can announce fundraisers, things like that. My Masonic Lodge, Olive Branch Lodge, number 37, has a Mardi Gras ball Monday night from 9 to 2. Tickets are $10. We got flyers around town and stuff like that. But more importantly, the most important thing to me this month is Black History Month. I don't think we acknowledge that. This is the last meeting of the month. I would like to wish all you a very happy Black History Month. And the way you do that is you go out and you support a black-owned business. All right. That's the way you do that. At some point, and I know a lot of y'all do. Also, I want to acknowledge tonight, history is being made in the African American community. Shane Newman won the World Series with LSU, went on to be, if I'm not mistaken, the first Major League baseball player from New Iberia. He has an African American, and they're retiring his jersey tonight over at Nicc's baseball game. So that's my African American history moment. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Bruce?
I call compliance to go tag a car, Mr. Dakota. We need to put this on the agenda. That's revolting to hear that the car is 15 years and older. Two of them in the yard. 15 years and older, and it's
I thought it was 25. It's 25 years.
Well,
it's 25 years.
It was old enough where he wouldn't tag it.
Right.
And I don't blame him. It's an ordinance we have he's following, but it doesn't make sense. Got no steering wheel, junk stacked in it. It's off of French Street, right off Amador. We need to bring it up and see what. Give me a good answer, because the people I'm talking to, that's a nice neighborhood, and man, they're looking at that across the street, big time. And I wouldn't want that across the street either, looking at it. So I don't know where that ordinance. Can you give me a little answer about what they're thinking about on that? Not in the backyard, right there in the front.
25-year-old classic car. They decide they had to put the date somewhere. So.
But it's still a junk car.
Oh.
So hey, we need to talk about it, please. Put it on the agenda if we can. And we need to get an answer on that, because the people on French Street, right off Amador, 3 houses down on the right, that covers the whole front yard. Nice guy across the street. Got to look at that all day long. So can we address that?
Thank you, Mr. Broussard. Mayor Pro Tem?
I want to thank everybody for supporting the Mardi Gras Parade. It was a big success, one of the biggest, and no issues, no nothing but a good time. So I want to thank the community for getting behind this and supporting the efforts, and this council and the mayor for supporting this project. And that's what makes New Iberia a great place to live, is when you have projects or things like that and the city gets behind as a sponsor. Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Councilman Ledbetter?
Yes, I do want to invite everybody to, we're having a Black History Tea, and we honor people from different areas from our communities in the area. As far as Opelousas going that way, and as far as Patterson, Burtonville going that way. So come out and join us. It's going to be a real good celebration. It's going to be on March the 5th at Olive Branch Lodge on Ann Street, and it's from 4 to 6. So come on out and join us. Admission is $5.
Thank you. Councilman Guidry?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Councilmember Swear?
I want to back Mr. Dahl up on what he said about the Mardi Gras Parade. It was a great success. I don't think there was any issues either. Thank you, Mayor, for backing us up on that and taking care of that. I also want to, once again, Festival of Live Oaks, March 18th. I think we do have a few barbecue teams signed up. I'm not sure how many as of yet, but the packets are still available at the community center. So if you want to talk to Pat or Heather, and we need to promote that festival as much as we can, because not only it's in my district, but it's also a community-wide festival. So thank you.
Great. I have a couple of announcements. The next City Council meeting is Tuesday, March the 7th, and our offices will be closed on Tuesday, February 28th for Mardi Gras, and we'll reopen on Wednesday. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Councilmember Guidry and a second by Councilmember Swear. Thank you all very much.